at paces slower than 8:00/mile. Leading super shoes don't just lose their efficiency. Studies show they can statistically worsen your running economy. The marketing claim is ubiquitous, a 4% improvement in running economy. However, that baseline was established testing elite runners averaging 11 miles per hour, 18 kilometers per hour. The physics change drastically when we look at the average recreational marathon pace. A pivotal 2022 study by Joubert and Jones investigated this discrepancy. They tested super shoes on runners at 10 kilometers per hour and 12 kilometers per hour. The results dismantled the universal applicability of the super shoe advantage. At 12 kilometers per hour, 8 o'clock min/mile, the average improvement wasn't 4%, but barely 1.4%. More concerningly, at slower speeds, roughly one-third of runners experienced negative running economy. The shoes made them work harder to maintain the same pace. To understand why, we must look at longitudinal bending stiffness, LBS. The carbon plate acts as a lever to stiffen the metatarsophalangeal joint. To benefit, you must apply sufficient ground reaction force to load this lever. At slower speeds, ground reaction forces decrease significantly. If you cannot compress the high-stack foam rapidly enough, the stiff plate becomes a hindrance rather than a spring, effectively acting as a rigid plank that fights your foot's natural roll. Furthermore, gait mechanics shift as pace drops. Slower runners tend to have lower cadences and longer ground contact times. This introduces the issue of instability inherent in high-stack PEBA foams. Super foams are highly compliant. They are soft. While they return energy, they are inherently unstable. At slower cadences, the runner spends more time in the stance phase, struggling to balance on this soft platform. This instability recruits stabilizer muscles in the lower leg that normally rest during a neutral stride. The metabolic cost of firing these muscles cancels out the mechanical advantage of the foam. So where's the cutoff? The data suggests a gray zone between 4:30 and 5 o'clock min/km, 7:15 to 8 o'clock min/mile. Slower than this, mechanical disadvantages often outweigh the benefits. There is one exception: impact reduction. Even if they don't make you faster, the dampening properties of super foams can reduce muscle damage over the course of a marathon, leaving legs fresher at mile 20. However, relying on them for daily training at slow speeds can weaken the foot's intrinsic musculature due to the rigid splinting effect of the plate. The verdict: if your race pace is slower than 8:00/mile, prioritize super trainers, shoes with PEBA foam, but without a rigid carbon plate. You get the energy return of the foam without fighting the stiffness of the lever. Don't buy speed you can't mechanically activate.